Hello, this is Idodmg and welcome back to the channel. In this Diablo 4 video, I want to talk to you about the Rogue class. In specific, I want to be talking about ways to manage the energy with this class. I want to show you some ways to go from this to this. Hope I help you out, and everything will be timestamped down below of each way that you can manage your energy and get you up and running so you can spam those abilities even more. Now that I nailed the introduction, let's go ahead and talk about energy management on the Rogue. There's quite a few tools that I'm going to talk about in this video, and they will be timestamped down below by category. Keep in mind, I am by no means telling you you have to use any of these or that you need to use all of them or anything like that. These are just tools you can use to help increase your management with your energy and your resource on the Rogue. First thing we're going to talk about is skills. These are going to have a high investment cost since they will take up a skill slot on your bar. But here's some options you can consider. Let's go ahead and kick it off with your basic skills all the way here at the top of the skill tree. First up, we have Puncture. This is a marksman ability, but it also is pretty viable for melee as well. But what makes this skill shine is the enhanced puncture node right here. You gain 2 energy whenever you damage a crowd-controlled enemy with puncture. So if you're already running a crowd-controlled build, this would be a pretty good option here. Next basic skill we have in this is a melee ability. So if you're doing a ranged build, this one probably won't fit the puzzle for your build. But if you're doing a melee build, good choice here. This is Invigorating Strike. It will deal damage, and it also increases energy regeneration for 3 seconds. By default, it's 20% energy regeneration for 3 seconds, but you can pick up the enhanced node here, which will increase that bonus from 20 to 30%. So it doesn't add 30%, it just, instead of being 20%, it is now 30% for 3 seconds. Another skill you can consider here, and this is a core ability. Again, this is a marksman skill, Rapid Fire. This one is really fun to use. It shoots out 5 arrows rapidly. It is a pretty fast-paced skill and is actually really fun to use. But the node we're going to talk about here is Improved Rapid Fire. Gain 15 energy per cast of Rapid Fire when it damages a vulnerable enemy. So if you're already making enemies vulnerable, which I think you should be, this is another skill to consider. Further down on the skill tree, and this will unlock when you unlock your subterfuge skills, this is Concealment. This is a really good skill to kind of getting you out of really bad situations. If you need to run away, get out of a CC, because it does make you unstoppable. You can also pick up a node here that heals you while you're in stealth as well. But we're talking about energy in this video, so back on track here. Whenever you use Concealment, if you've picked up Enhanced Stealth, whenever you use Concealment, you'll gain 40 energy. So it's kind of like an energy potion in that regard. A really great tool, and I really love this one. The number one way to fix any energy issues with the Rogue is Shadow Imbuement. Picking up this skill and going into this passive, I mean, you'll immediately see results, and this will solve your energy issues if you can manage to fit it on your skill bar. This is Shadow Imbuement. By default, it will imbue your next 2 skills that can be, not all skills can be imbued, but some are imbuable. And if you attack with those skills, they will be infected with shadow damage for 6 seconds. And if you kill them within that 6 seconds, they'll explode and deal damage to surrounding enemies. Now, if you don't kill that enemy within 6 seconds, maybe it's a boss or something like that, when it expires, it will just deal the 7,000 damage and it will not explode. But the energy part that we're talking about here is Consuming Shadows. Each time you kill an enemy with shadow damage, you generate 30 energy. This is 10 energy per node. I have 3 points into it. That's how we're getting 30 energy. And then with this in mind, you could also pick up your Death Trap, which does a lot of damage, but this is an ultimate ability. And remember, you can only have one ultimate ability at a time. But this does do shadow damage, and it does a lot of damage. So another great way to synergize up with Consuming Shadows to get that energy from killing monsters with shadow damage. That's pretty much all of the skills. The next thing I want to touch on here is passives. Now, these are going to be much easier to pick up since they don't take up a skill slot, and it just takes some skill points to use. The very first one here is Adrenaline. This passive point will give you energy regeneration while you're moving. It's 5% per point put in here. So we have 3 points. That's how you're getting your 15% energy regeneration while moving. This one's, you're not going to see a massive difference, but every little bit helps. And that's the point in the video, is to give you all these little things that are finally going to amount to something greater and allow you to really have more energy. The only thing I want to mention again, and I want to reiterate, is that shadow imbuement, consuming shadows, is game changer. It's the #1 choice for getting energy on your rogue. But enough about that. Back to passives. Adrenaline Rush, we just talked about. Next, we have Innervation. This one will give you a chance to gain energy. Now, this is a lucky hit chance. So you're not getting 30%. It's only if you have a lucky hit, then you'll have a 30% chance to gain the 8 energy. That's a whole nother topic, but basically, again, this one's not going to make a massive difference, but it will help in the long run. Last but not least, and again, these are all in the ultimate area of your skill tree, kind of towards the bottom, you have Aftermath. This is one of my favorite passive nodes for energy restoration on the rogue, and whenever you use an ultimate skill, you'll restore 90 energy. So if you can stack up a lot of cooldown reduction and use those ultimates even more, you can see why this would come into play and be very useful. This is Aftermath. And lastly, for the skill tree, we have key passives. And remember, I'm not telling you have to use any of these skills or passives or anything like that. These are just tools in a kit to help you with your rogue build. So down here on the key passives, one of the choices you have is called Momentum. Cutthroat skills grant a stack of momentum for 8 seconds if they either hit a enemy from behind, a stunned, dazed, or frozen enemy. So if you can meet any of those 4 criteria, which you probably will be, when you get 3 stacks of the buff, you will get 30% increased energy regeneration. And that's the highlight of the node. You can obviously see here, you get movement speed, and you also get damage reduction. 20% increased damage reduction is huge. So this one's definitely worth it. This was actually the first key passive I used on my very first rogue in Diablo 4, and I still go back to it from time to time if I'm kind of struggling with survivability. But there you go. That's going to wrap it up for the skill tree options for energy management on the rogue. Next, I want to go ahead here, and I want to hit, before we dive deep into the glyph tree and item affixes, I want to point out specializations. At level 15 on the rogue, you can do your class quest, and you can unlock specializations. I believe Inner Sight becomes available. It's not immediately. You have to level up a little bit more, but you'll get combo points, and as you level up, you'll unlock Inner Sight. And now, if you're already playing rogue, you already know about this, but if you haven't played a rogue, or maybe you don't know anything about rogue, what Inner Sight does is monsters will be marked, and if you attack that marked enemy, you will fill up this Inner Sight gauge right here. And when that's full, you can cast skills without consuming energy for 4 seconds. So again, huge. And I'm not saying this is the best specialization, just for energy management, it is a solid choice. All right, let's go ahead and touch on those glyphs over here on the Paragon board. There's really 2 key energy glyphs that I want to point out. First one is combat. Now remember, this is an additional bonus, so you don't get this by default. And a lot of the glyphs, they have to be level 15 to have that bigger radius to be able to pick up that stat that you need to activate the additional bonus. This one, you can see we need 25 intelligence. But once we reach that threshold and we unlock the additional bonus, we will get, whenever a skill crits, will restore 12% of that skill's energy cost. Again, not going to see a big change here, but it will help out a little bit. The other glyph I wanted to point out was called Fluidity. What this one does is whenever you cast an agility skill, you gain 9% increased energy regeneration for 6 seconds. This does not stack, and it is only 9%. So again, not huge, but if you add up everything we've talked about so far, and what we're going to touch on in the rest of the video, I think you'll see some good results. So again, that was Fluidity, and that requires 40 dexterity in range of the glyph. All right, we've covered a lot so far. We've talked about skills, passives, key passives, mastery, or specializations, I guess, and Paragon glyphs. The best part, though, and I always say best for last, is those item affixes. A really great tool I use for a lot for build planning, and there's also There's also build guides on this website, which I don't use. I like to make up my own builds. That's what I find the most enjoyment from while playing action RPGs. But this is a great tool to use, and today we're going to be referencing the Gear Affix database for the Rogue. And I have all these already, so we're just going to go ahead and talk about them instead of going through the website. I just want to point out that tool that you should definitely bookmark and consider using for making your own builds. So the very first item slot here is your helmet. You can get maximum energy on there. And again, that's not going to give you energy recovery or anything like that. You just have a bigger pool to pull from. And down here on your boots, you could pick up energy cost reduction. You can see I actually have them on these boots right here. Over on your ammo, you can get energy cost reduction. I guess I don't have it on there either. This character is not really optimized at all. Over on your gloves, you can get lucky hit chance to restore resource. And then down on your pants, you can get an implicit stat. And if you don't know what that is, it's the base affix of an item. So underneath armor, it says right there, while injured, your potion also restores 30% resource. So while you're injured, that's under 35% health. If you use your potion, boom, you gain 30% of your energy back. Another little energy potion there, if you want to think of it that way. Over on rings, you can get on each ring, you can get resource regeneration. I believe it rolls 7 to 14%, so a little bit there. And if you got it on both rings, I mean, you get up to 28% resource regeneration just from your rings. But there's other probably better affixes than energy regeneration for rings. But again, it's a tool that you can think about and use if you want to. That's going to wrap it up for item affixes. The last thing I want to touch on here is your legendary aspects. And there's going to be 3 main aspects that you can choose from when it comes to resource. The first one is aspect of Umbral. Restore your primary resource when you crowd control an enemy. This one's really great if you're crowd controlling big groups, like if you're using smoke grenade or something like that. I've seen this work with that setup, and it's actually it works really well. And if you find a drop version with higher, I believe it rolls up to 4 primary resource when you crowd control an enemy. So big groups, multiply that, and it adds up pretty quick. The next option you have is Ravenous Aspect. This is whenever you kill a vulnerable enemy, you get energy regeneration for 4 seconds. And remember, 50% is the low end here, since these are from the Codex. And the third choice you have is Energizing Aspect, and this one is whenever you damage an elite, you generate energy. Out of these 3, I'm going for Umbral and Ravenous, just because Energizing is only when you damage an elite, and you're not always fighting an elite, so I just felt like these 2 would have more uptime. And all 3 of these are only available on a ring, so you do have to pick 2 of the 3 if that's the route you want to go, and if you even want to utilize these and take up that ring affix slot. Last but not least, and this is just for seasonal, so if you're watching this video after Season 1's ended, after October 17th, 2023, this is not in the game. But if you're playing the game in Season 1 and you're watching the video during Season 1 prior to October 17th, 2023, you can use this tool here that I'm going to show you. This is the Wrathful Heart. And what this will do is there's 3 buffs that it cycles through every 20 kills. So you get a buff, you kill 20 enemies, it cycles to the next buff, and so on, and it cycles through 3. Now, one of the 3 bonuses here is core and basic skills have an 18% chance to fully restore your primary resource. So if you think about it, you have 20 chances for that to happen before it goes to the next cycle. Kill 20, kill another 20, and then you have another 20 chances to fully restore your primary resource. And it works. I've seen it work in my builds, and it's one of those things that when it happens, you're like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. You know, just boom, 0 to 100 energy. Keep spamming your stuff. That's going to wrap it up for this Diablo 4 video talking about Rogue Energy Management. I hope you found the video useful, and I hope this little toolkit that I just handed to you will come in useful to you one day during your Diablo 4 adventure. If you enjoyed this video or found the video useful, don't forget to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and feel free to join us over on our Discord if you'd like to. We'd love to have a chat. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.